G'day. Welcome to a very comfortable version of the Real Action Fishing Podcast. This is our new setup.
I know how I feel about it, but you're a man of routine. You're a man of, you love the sentimental value of things, and you built that table with your own hands, and now it's.
I built this table and the other table.
But the table we sat at for 4 years, guest, is in another room. Well, it's in the corner of this room.
Over in I'm fairly disappointed, to be fair, but I must admit this is a very comfortable chair. And if you're watching this, you can see what we're talking about from an audio perspective. We're sitting in a couple of comfy lounge chairs with a nice little coffee table. And while I was out on the water, Jono just thought he'd just go and buy this stuff to put in my house with no consultation.
Well, I've
directly with me, but with my wife.
I've worked with you for 15 plus years now, guest, and I know sometimes to get things done.
So you're asking for forgiveness.
You just got to go do it.
Fair call. But I must admit, I like it. It's comfy.
Super comfy.
It seems to be the modern podcast way.
And you know what really...
You know what? I'm further away from you. I do like that.
You know what really sparked it for me, Guesty, was I think our podcasts have really turned into just having a bit of a yarn. You know, we started out, the transition to the podcast, we very much started out super technical, and we do love getting technical.
Yeah, I think we still got
we still get technical, but I also think we've really turned into that have a coffee, have a beer type podcast, and I think we needed just to relax a little bit, sit on some lounge chairs, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm super excited about today's topic, Guesty, because it's something we've both been doing a fair bit of recently, and it's also, you know how different months of the year have a different something attached to it.
Yep.
Cod opening, marlin season,
season,
Spanish mackerel, yellowfin, things like that. Well, September has a couple, and one of them is, of course.
I think for us, the big flathead, they certainly become more active, I think, and you can target them in some pretty cool ways. And we're going to talk about casting big swim baits. So I've got one sitting here, actually. If you can see that I'm sure you can see that on the screen, but just what I'm holding on to is a big soft plastic swim bait. It's a cracker. It's one that I've had a lot of success with because, I've been casting it. At the end of the day, you generally cast whatever you're casting is what you catch the fish on at the end of the day.
It's funny.
It's funny how that works, isn't it? Really, but this is what we call a Nessie. So it's a big 9-inch Nessie. It's a soft plastic jointed swim bait, and it's funny how you spend years and years and years casting lures for flathead, and catching big flathead actually on quite small lures. And at times actually catching really big flathead on very small lures, and how you get comfortable with that and you think that's the go, this is it. And then other times you're looking in the shallows and you're cruising up onto a edge of a weed bed and a sand flat and lots of different estuary systems up and down, certainly the east coast of New South Wales, southern Queensland into Victoria, those places without a doubt for those big dusky flathead. And then you've just cast an area, if you're in your boat or you're walking an edge or you're in a kayak and you've just cast that area with your small lure, and you might have caught a small flathead or you mightn't have caught anything, and then there's that mammoth thing that just gets up and dusts and shakes a bit of sand off and cruises off, and you go, oh my God, here's this fish that's anywhere from 80 centimetres to nearly a metre. It's a 90 odd centimetre flathead. It was there the whole time. You cast your lure right through. It probably went within 20 centimetres of that fish, and it didn't eat it. And then you go, well, why not? Oh. And the thing you start thinking, you start sort of thinking to yourself, why not? Why didn't it eat my 3-inch curly tail grub or my 5-inch sort of jerk shad or my little hard body? Why not? And where other times they do, you catch mega flathead. Like probably the biggest flathead I've seen caught in the last little while was my mate Jim McGurr caught with me in Lake Macquarie, and that was on a 4-inch, a little gulp shrimp. And he caught a 97, but a massive 97, 240 mil across the head. It was a huge, huge fish. And it ate that lure. No problems in the world. So it's not like they don't do it, but then you start thinking about it, and then you start doing a bit of diving, you're swimming with these fish, and you see how they sit twisted up amongst the rocks and the sand, and where they actually live. And they love living in some really ugly places around oyster leases and rocky sort of points and oyster encrusted rocks and places that are quite hard to get your lure in amongst. And then and then you see, lots of social media people catching them, and I've done it too. My mates do it, catching them on big live yellowtail and live mullet and live pike. So then, is it a case that at times the fact that we're just throwing tiny little lures for a fish that's got a mouth? I think that one that I just spoke about, that 970 long, like 97 centimetre fish, was 240 mil, so 24 centimetres across the head. So that, so straight away it opens its mouth. Man, you can fit an amazingly big thing inside that.
Well, I think to your point, the reason we're not getting a bite on that 3 or 4 inch sometimes, you're not enticing them enough.
Am I going to burn? Do I really need to burn any energy much unless it's right in front of me? And I'm wondering if some of these really big flathead that we've caught at times on little hard bodies and tiny little soft plastics, was it a case that you just got your cast in the exact right spot and it's
landed on their head?
It's landed like 2 meters from the fish, and you've hopped it and twitched it, and that lure's come across right into that zone where that fish just had to go.
Yeah,
and you do get those bites like So is that the reason why we catch some of those really big fish? So, and it wasn't
or just on that, what if they're feeding on really, what if it's a prawn run, for example, and they're feeding?
Oh, absolutely.
I think there's so many different factors to it, but I do agree with you most times.
But I'm thinking the big fish. You imagine being that big female flathead, and don't forget they're all anything over 57 centimetres is going to be a female. Males sort of top out at that 57, 58 max maybe, and that's a fact. So. But is that big girl that's laying there, not expending a lot of energy, not it's the one that the males are going to stack on top of and try and mate with, and so it's not having to do a lot. The tide change comes, so it's got its head facing into the current on the outgoing tide, and we've seen it. You and I have droned them and watched them do this right on the tide change. When that water goes slack, they get up, they dust themselves off, and they turn around and they hardly even move sometimes. If they're up in the shallows, then they'll come back down, obviously because they're going to run out of water right up on a flat, but they'll come back down. But they just simply turn around, or they might move, 5, 6, 7, 10 metres. They'll have a bit of a move and then they'll plonk themselves back down again. So they're not moving a lot. So then that says to me that a bigger lure, like a big lure like that, a 9-inch lure, with lots of action, and these things are just.
I reckon we'll get to the lure, but you're raising a good point. The whole idea of throwing a lure of this size,
it's a big meal.
It's a big meal, and I think
that's what I'm saying. So then am I going to, man? If I eat a mullet that size, and that at the end of the day, that's a mullet. I don't care what you say. That looks like a mullet. I've got there's a goldy colour in this exact lure that I've had really good success with tubby tailor. You would have seen on real action.
That's a whiting, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like a whiting, and a lot of the places we fish a lot of whiting, so I do like that goldy colour one. But at the end of the day, whiting or mullet, that size compared to a yabby that's this big or a little prawn that's this big, you imagine the nutritional value in a mullet that's that size, and those flathead, they'll eat. I've seen them with massive mullet hanging out of their mouth. Or small flathead choking on them. So then let's burst a bit of energy out, crash tackle that, sit back on the bottom, digest it, not have to do too much.
You know what I relate it to?
Stay camouflage.
What's their nickname? What's a big flathead's nickname?
It's a lizard.
It's a crocodile. Right?
Or a croc. Yeah.
Croc. It's a rep, and I know I'm not. This is just.
And crocs work a bit like
that.
They
work, and big snakes and that they sit there, they reserve their energy, they then go get a lion or an antelope or whatever a cow, doesn't matter, a beast.
Let's talk Australia, mate. We're in South Africa here. Come on,
I'm thinking of the David Attenborough vision. The pigs, kangaroos. I'm sure at some point
scrub cattle. That's what they're.
So they reserve their energy, and then they just they pick their time, their opportune moment, come over, get a big feed. And sit on it, and I think a snake does the same. A big python, it'll wait. It'll get a rabbit or a rat or something and sit on it. I know they're different. I know it's a fish, but there's still the same principle applies. Where to entice these big fish off the flats, and we're not talking about water too deep here. I think throwing these, and we'll talk about that shortly. But we're talking about fish that are up, sitting in the sun in that warm water. The sun has to give them energy, just like everything else, right? They're sitting up there absorbing all that heat.
Increases metabolism is what it does.
So I reckon they're up on the flats this time of year, soaking up the sun, getting the heat from the sand that's probably heated up a little bit too. All the nutrients is up there, and they're just waiting for that, And I don't know how many I have no clue, but how many mullet does a big flathead eat in a day? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether
Is it one?
Well, that's right. Is it one? Is it one every 2 days? One every 4 days? Is it 4 a day for certain periods? Is it times when the barometer's nice?
Yeah,
and
is it
high,
5 in a
roaring,
day and then
it's like
nothing?
Bang, bang, bang. Fill up, sit down.
You know what?
Ride out the periods that are not bite periods.
Could we draw on this example? And I know we're talking about lures, but you and I have also thrown live baits for big flathead before, right? How many times have you thrown a live bait in, got a bite and missed it, come back with no livey, rigged another livey up, thrown it back in, and got the fish? It probably has the first livey in its belly, correct?
Yeah.
Potentially.
So if you get, it's all about peak bite times.
Yeah.
Like we've spoken about it before on the podcast, but I look at what fish will do sometimes when they are in that feeding zone. Like that show I filmed with Dom Thornley a few years ago, and pulled up at this spot, great spot. We're going to get a bit of a burley trail going before I'll get started.
Oh,
as soon as
offshore.
I turn up,
Yeah.
offshore. Some 30-pound mono on an ugly stick and a Penn live liner and 6-0 hook through the pilly, tiny little ball sinker. Flick that out. Put that. So you know what I'm like. I just go throw it in there. It's in the rod holder.
Yep.
Where we go. We've already collected some live bait before we got to this spot, so I've got live yakkers in the tank. I've got a big kingfish rod sitting there. Hadn't deployed any of that onto the burley, so I've thrown a line out onto the burley. Next, screaming off, hook set. Oh, I'm in trouble here. This is a big fish. And then up this thing on the 30-pound mono, go, only 30-pound leader, pulling hard. Big screaming run to the bottom,
Crack.
Busted off. Done. And I've gone straight up. And then, was that a big snapper? No, I reckon that was a kingfish. Wind up. And I said, I've got to get a live bait out, put that rod in the holder, line flapping in the breeze. That line's there looking at that, got to re-rig that, pick up my live bait rod. So then suddenly we're on 50-pound mono on a 37-kilo ugly stick, big Penn Slammer reel, large arbor reel, 8,500 size reel. So confident tackle, 100-pound leader, own a 10-0 circle hook, pin through the live yakker, dropping it down. It only goes 7-8 metres under the boat. Oh, hang on, I'm getting bitten on the way down. Let it, into gear, rod tip up, load. Oh, yep, got it on. Man, battle of your life.
Yep.
And then I fight this fish. Up it comes, cracking big kingfish, metre 18, whatever it is, in the net. High fives, you beauty. Thumb lock into the mouth. Hold it up to camera. Have a look, and the 6-0 hook that I got busted off on is brand new 6-0 is right next to the 10-0 in the same fish. So that same fish ate the pilly, had a battle with me for probably 20 seconds, 25 seconds, busted me off in the bottom.
What the hell was that about?
Into the bottom at 30 metres, turned around, came up.
Had a breather,
said, mate, I'm into this. So what sort of feeding zone is that fish in? Like, it's busted me off in the bottom, turned around, come up 10 metres under the boat, eaten a live yakker, fought it to the top, and then let that fish
Well, this
go.
theory checks out, doesn't it? Because
so then that's and then other times you can mark those kings. I've had them swimming around the boat. I've had big live slimy mackerel, and then just rigged one on 10-pound on a hand line on 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, just saying, come on, eat this. Won't even touch them. It's the same species of fish. So it's about bite triggers and feeding and,
I agree.
and how they will stack up.
The other day, I went out on a Tuesday, 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
And
I knew it was a good day.
You were busy.
I was
up you for
disappointed.
it. But I said, Guessy, I'm going fishing. Do you want to come? He rings me in the morning and said, no, I've got to work.
Can't.
No worries. All good. I go out there. He rings me at about 12 o'clock or something. I think you're on the way to the farm or something. You said, you catching? And I just went, yep. And I think you knew, well, that was the day to be out there. We'll chat about how that day went. But then you went out 2 days later when the bite window, in our case, in this estuary, it's really about pressure.
Barometer fell.
The barometer fell. I think the wind turned around to the north. It was blowing out of the south. We'll talk about that soon. And you struggled. You saw fish, but you struggled. You're doing the same. You're throwing the same lure.
Had one fish
on the same gear.
One fish follow me back
in the same spot.
Big flathead, about 85 centimetres. Follow me back.
Turn on it,
and then sat down. Didn't what we call light up, where they get. You see when they light up, they sort of their colours glow. Those speckles, that sort of, that exposed driveway looking speckle look that they get on the back.
Exposed driveway.
Well, that's what they look like.
Great reference.
Like the little stony pattern.
Yeah.
I love it how they
I've never
look like
heard
that,
of that
and their
before.
fins they just look angry. And there wasn't an angry fish, and then it sat to the bottom. I went, one there, and then I cast back past it because it was facing 90 degrees to me, so I passed it and then swum the bait in. Beautiful action these lures have got. Swum it in there. It came up, had a bit of a look, turned away and went, no.
And it was so opposite
and it just wasn't.
On the day that I was out there, which was 2 days before, which is, I think this theory that we're chatting about checks out, because I get to that same spot, I put the recon in, and I go, well, this is as good as place as ever to have my first cast. I think it was my third cast or something, threw right up onto the flat, and within 2 turns of the handle, this thing just goes straight off the top. And it was never not eating that.
No,
whatever landed there.
So if you're a whiting or a mullet,
you're gone.
You're swimming in that zone, man. You're gone. You're in trouble.
But I also think, and we'll chat about this lure and the technique very shortly, but we're really just talking about bite windows here because we're throwing massive lures, which is a bit.
Berkeley, make a bigger one.
Yeah, I
think you can make a bigger one.
I think the biggest hesitation, Guesty, and we'll chat about this, but people look at that and go, "Oh, I can't throw that. That's massive."
Yeah, the tackle's different. But
different,
but also, it's a totally different thought process about.
Think of these fish that we're talking about. You've held, plenty of them. You filmed the last 4 years on these fish. They're proper predators, as good as any we've got in Australia in terms of their mouth size, in terms of how they hit a prey and how they ambush prey. That is not a big meal.
No.
For a 80+ centimetre flathead.
No. And then it's about we'll get into it in a minute. It's about hook set and how you can set the hook in a hard mouth with a big, a heavier gauged hook.
Yeah.
I've caught on these lures, like I've caught, and if you watch Real Action episode 3 this year, Real Action, it's on. We haven't put them up on YouTube. We'll start putting them up on YouTube shortly, but they're on 10 play if you want to have a bit of a look at the moment. But caught a metre 3 barra on that in a day with Evan from Lake Awunga Barra Charters fishing with Jack Nolan as well when it was tough fishing and one of these that exact colour actually with a tiny little ball sinker to weight it down and that ended up like down the throat of the big barra. Caught big queenies on these lures. You catch bass on the smaller profile ones, but the action is the key, I reckon. And you know what? I think I sort of nearly relate sometimes big flathead to big Murray cod. People go, what the hell? They're not even, one's a freshwater fish. But the fact that you can have a big Murray cod and you can throw every lure that you like at it and they just won't eat unless it's the right moon phase, the right time of year, and the barometer's a massive big key in that. But once again, I think a Murray cod, a big cod, small cod are eating whatever they can get, moths off the surface and bait fish, and they're trying to grow and grow and grow. Once big cod get big, they've got good fat reserves, and they'll eat a duck off the top or a snake or a lizard or a golden perch or a big redfin, or they'll eat a big meal once again. I think the big flatties can be like that as well. And I think it's about, getting your cast in the right spot and then trying to pick the right time and tide and everything to get that bite.
I think I agree. I believe that a flathead that is up on the flats in a foot of water, so we're not dealing with another 8 or 10 metres of water here. You're dealing with such a small area. Their environment now is shrunk. It's a metre, maybe. We're throwing these in roughly a metre, give or take. So I think everything is just accentuated. Everything around them is so any disturbance they know about, right? You can't hide.
They're up there to eat.
You can't hide, right? No. So when this lure hits the water 10 metres away, the best quote I ever heard when I was fishing in the Murrumbidgee with Reece Creed and Dan Webber, who've been on the show with you before, we'll throw in surface baits for 3 days for Murray cod. And then I've been asking all these dumb questions, as I do, Guesty, and I said, do you reckon they see it? And Dan said, every single cast that we've thrown, if there's a cod in that snag, it knows that lure's there. That lure is there. Like it's not like the one you catch goes, oh, every fish is just looking at that lure. No, I'm not interested looking at that lure. And I thought about it. We're throwing in like 2-3 meters sometimes a meter. Any splash on that surface of the water or any vibration, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean? So when you're throwing these in a meter of water and a big flathead's just sitting there waiting for that right moment, of course it's going to go, what's that? And then like
Well, yeah,
you throw a 3-inch plastic, it's
don't-
not going to make the amount of disturbance.
I don't think a flathead. I think those big flathead. I think they just sit there and then they time their run. Going back to the.
So you don't reckon they're
crocodile
coming
theory.
over to it?
No, not really. No,
I thought that time with Jack, he swam that flathead came all the way.
Oh, it definitely followed it.
Yeah, right.
But that fish didn't eat the lure either. So it's a bit like saying, you've got a seal swimming around and a great white shark follows the seal. That's not eating the seal, that one. Unless that seal is really badly injured, it is not getting eaten. The one that gets eaten, mate, they don't see the shark coming. The shark just comes from a million miles an hour and crash tackles it.
Okay.
Crocodile is the same thing, stalks its prey, makes a big lunge, has a crack. I think those big flathead, when you catch the big flathead on these lures, it's just like, man, I'm going to shake the sand off, I'm coming up out of the bottom and I'm making a lunge and I'm going to have a crack. Because if it's a mullet or a whiting or a brim or
quick.
a big garfish or another small flathead, unless it's some type of injured prey that they're going to feed on, you're not catching a mullet. If a big flathead gets up and just goes, hey, slow down, wait for me, it is not catching that mullet. There's no a whiting have got an amazing big eye and they're so in tune to their environment. They will just dart off.
Yep.
A big flathead has got to make its lunge and go. So those big ones, like I said, the one I missed the other day, when I saw it follow and not really commit, I have had them where I've stopped the lure, and you can stop these things, and they just sit there on the surface, and then give it a bit of a crank. Russell Babacool, mate of mine, who's done a lot of fishing on Real Action, and he's probably one of the best, if not the best, at casting these for big flatheads. Great guy, fantastic fisherman, has got these things wide in really well. Had great success fishing with him with these lures at the end of the day. But, sometimes you can chop them. We actually found, when we first started using these, we were actually adding a stinger treble because we're thinking, the hookup rate mightn't be as good. Got rid of all that crap. Just use them out of the packet. The hooks are really good, straight out of the packet. Only thing I do at times, I'll add a little tiny ball sinker into a loop knot to sink them down a little bit at times, and have had good success with that, not only on flathead but on other species. But I think that's just that good, slow, winding action. But the fish that you catch, the ones that you actually hook, generally,
I didn't see it.
You do something, but you see them, they just roar up out of the bottom, and their maximum attack, and they'll have a crack. And if it misses the lure, like sometimes they'll totally miss it or just pinch the tail, settle down, you can sit there and you go, he's there or she's there. I should say not he, she. Have another cast, don't land it on top of the fish, but crank it past, and it'll have another go because they're lit up.
So let's talk about September, guest.
But you know what I mean? The ones that you miss, I reckon. The ones that are lazy and come up,
less confident.
You're generally not.
Yep. And it also depends on where and
like,
etc.
I would like to eat that. And sometimes if you stop it, you'll get a lazy bite out. But most of the good bites, when they're on. Man, it's insane.
September, guest, is the month where this all kind of kicks into gear. This is an all year round thing, but a lot easier in those warmer months because we find the flathead this time of year, particularly in New South Wales. I'm not too familiar with Victoria and southeast Queensland, but I do know in New South Wales, they'll come out of the deeper water and head up onto those shallow banks, those weed beds, those drop-offs. And I think that's because the bait is coming out of the deeper water too.
Yeah,
the water's warming up.
Definitely. We start to get prawn movement. The flats come to life with all sorts of, the whiting move in, mullet move in on the flats. They love that warm water. But the trouble is in wintertime, that on those, especially those shallow sand flats, at night time, the water temperature drops
so much,
so quick. Like you just get this sudden drop in water temperature. The temperature fluctuates. I don't care what sort of fish it is, whether it's a bass, a Murray cod, any fish. The biggest thing they seriously don't like is sudden drops in water temperature.
Yep.
So then I find certainly in our local estuary systems, the flathead tend to sit just that bit deeper. And they'll sit deeper at certain times of the day, and certainly at night time they'll sit deeper because they get a constant water temperature around them. And then they will, and you do find them, but you get suddenly you get a patch of warm weather, they'll move up, and especially if you've got that Zion weed, that black weed over the shallows, where anything that's black is going to certainly heat up and supercharge pretty quick. So they'll go up and sit on that black weed. I've seen them do that in wintertime, and then they'll come back out of there. Once the sun starts to go down, that water temperature cools off, they'll sort of retreat again. But this time of year, spring is so cool because most of our, let's talk about, let's pick any estuary system. Let's talk about Foster, for example. You've got Wallace Lake, super shallow lake, full of weed, quite dark in colour. to the fact that it's shallow and dark, you get 2 or 3 days of 30-degree temperature all of a sudden, and don't forget, the shortest day of the year, what's that, June 21, winter solstice, and then we've got longer periods, the sun's more overhead, it heats that water temperature up, and suddenly on that run-out tide, we've got this beautiful warm water lapping back out again. So you've got this increase in water temperature starting to happen.
And that's only going to get better throughout October, November. I think the best months of the year, people have their own opinion. For me, September, October, November is Flathead months. Just I don't know why. Obviously, February is also a great month. I've found January. I just don't do a lot of fishing because of school holidays and things like that. But
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
It's hard to find a quiet spot.
This time of year, I think, is a fantastic time to get into this. Guesty, a glide bait. That's what these are called on the packet. That it is a new.
See that hook swings out, so
it's a new.
And it's got a clip underneath here. If you're listening to this, they have these little plastic, little polycarbonate or plastic, whatever they are, wings underneath. That's where they get a lot of their action from, is from that.
Yeah. So this is the Nessie.
Yeah, they got a ring,
power bait Nessie. They're called
split ring to swivel, and then that treble hook that clips in underneath. It's a really cool design.
But that is the best swimming lure, and I'm not just saying this. I'm actually not involved with Berkeley at all. I know you are, but I'm not. That is the best swimming lure I have ever straight out of the packet.
It is amazing.
The gliding action on that.
Everyone I show this to people, and I go, have a look at this thing in the water, and you wind it, and they go, oh my God.
It is perfect. The way it just goes boom, boom, and then when you stop it and you give it slack, it just kicks out.
Yeah. They're a really cool thing to throw, and then when you see how successful they can be, and they've got that power bait formula, so they've got scent in them, so they've got the happening. I rub a bit of scent on them as well, just to help at times.
But definitely tying a loop knot on that, and like you said, you can put a ball sinker on it.
100% loop knot, and if you want to put a ball sinker, I just do my overhand knot, so my granny's knot for my loop knot, and then thread the sinker on, and then go through the iron tight, and you just get a ball sinker. And I wouldn't go too heavy, but little light ones. Just sometimes if I'm fishing area that's got a bit of current, or I'm fishing, maybe not on the depth of the tide, but there's some ground that looks really good that's 1.5 meters, 2 meters down, and we've had good success on big flathead sinking this down a bit too, and still having that.
The technique actually couldn't be more simple. It's a
rolling technique.
Glide baiting. I think that the idea of glide baiting or swim baiting can sometimes spook people off a little bit, and it probably did for me a little bit. I know it's big in the Murray cod scene, very big in the barramundi scene, but the technique is just a slow roll. Pretty much. Yeah. There's different variations, but with these, I'll throw it out as far as I possibly can. You got me on using the bait casters. You can definitely use spin if you want. Big long cast out, it lands, and these have the slowest sink. They really don't sink too much at all.
No, they'll sit. If you have a look, you'll see that tail, the tip of the tail, just sits above, right on the surface.
Yep.
And you can get them down about a foot under the surface, or pretty much they're a surface.
And you're just slow rolling it, and you'll just see that tail do it. It's got a disjointed tail there. Looks like some meshing system is holding that on. And then if you pause it, you can. Little pause is good, and you just roll it all the way back. And I actually don't roll it all the way back to the boat, because, well, sometimes you can, but I was fishing in crystal clear water. I can see that the last 2 meters, nothing's eating it. So then I'll just fire another one back out. I'm really looking for those first 10 or 15 winds of the handle, and if nothing's on it, get it back out into the zone. And that's it. Yep. And when that flathead came up and crash tackled it, and we'll talk about that shortly, there wasn't much to it because it was all done and dusted. Like, you're either on or you're not.
Yeah.
It's eaten it, or there's no fancy hook set or anything like that.
Like a lot of surface fishing, where sometimes a fish will just miss. They time their run, and that's why it's good to have a lure with a lot of action at slow speed. Whereas if you were burning a lure, you can quite often, you'll see fish will have a strike and then they miss. And a flathead like that's going to use a lot of energy, come up, have a crack, and then miss. Sometimes they'll turn around and go again, but a lot of time they go, oh, I missed out on that one. I'll sit down and wait for the next opportunity to come along. So the fact that you've got lots of action at slow speed is really good for a big flathead.
Yeah, I think it's a really great, it's certainly last 2 years is really where I've seen it. You've been filming it for probably 3 years now. I think these lures are about 3 years old.
Yeah.
Roughly. Yep. And it's something
before that, we're using poppers and and bent minnows and things on the surface as well to catch flathead, and they still work really well. Don't get me wrong there, but these things are cool, and the fact that they're soft, they're not a hard lure. Anything time you can use a soft lure, if the fish does nip the tail, it feels more natural.
Yeah.
It's not like it's getting a rock hard lure and it's like, oh, that's not
not
right.
it.
So I think that can definitely make a difference. As far as tackle goes, generally using, and depends where you're fishing. If you're fishing around, and I've got a really good fish with Tubby Taylor and Russell Babacool. Russell's guiding me, saying, Guesty, this is a good spot here. Put the cast in amongst like shallow oyster leases, fair bit of current, like a place where, like an ugly place.
A place where you wouldn't usually throw a lure.
So you're throwing so it's really, you snap a soft plastic gear is what you're throwing. So it's either using spin that's 6 to 10 kilos with, they're using sort of 25 pound leader, even 30 pound leader. But where I fish a lot, 20 pound leader's fine, some 15 pound braid or 20 pound braid, anywhere in that sort of mix. And on the bait casters, big long bait casting swim bait rods. Abu Garcia have got those Veritas ones. They're beautiful. Low profile reel, I use a Revo 5 inshore. And then I don't mind the bait caster because you can really, like, when you get the bite, they've got a hard mouth and you need to jam the hooks in. So it's about that hook set. So as I mentioned before, you've got a heavier gauge hook you want to set. So you need to be pulling hard to set the hook to start with.
Yep.
If you're fishing open sand flats, the fight's fine. But around that fish I was talking about with Mark Taylor, that was 90 centimetre fish, big fat head on it. And I just had to, all the things that you tell people when you first take them fishing for flathead with lures. Oh, don't lift their head out of the water.
I remember watching the episode.
It's like, man, got it on, jam the hooks. This thing's trying to drive me and just destroy me through the oyster leases. Get its head thrashing around on the surface, all the things you don't want to do, and just whine, yep, up over that rack. Oh, no, it's back down again, up over the other rack. Go, in the net.
Yeah.
Massive high
It was done in like 10 seconds.
Oh, you just got to go. You just got to.
And I like what you said. They throw all the rules out of the book.
Yeah, and it's not that slow, all those good burning runs and that big weight and the head shake that you get in deeper water, and you go, and the anticipation, how big is this flathead going to be? I love that too, don't get me wrong, but that type of surface fishing around oyster encrusted rocks and shallow areas and old pylons and things in the current, that's lock and load or you don't win. If you've got an estuary system where you've got little drop offs and weed beds, then you can definitely fish a bit lighter. Still got to be able to set that hook, but you can enjoy the fight a little bit more. There's no doubt.
Yeah, no, I had a lot of fun doing it the other day. That day that I spoke to you, it was just, I had one rod. I don't have those swim bait rod yet. I just was using my barramundi setup that I just use. It's an overhead, and throwing it as far up as I could onto the flats, slowly working it back. And I actually had, Guesty, probably like a 50 centimetre model bump the lure, all lit up like a...
Yeah, that's when they light up. And people go, what do you mean light up? It's just a brown flathead. That's not right.
It's lit up like it's like a snake rearing up at you. Like, it just looks like it's aggressive and in a mood. And I had a 50 centimetre model bump it. Didn't eat it.
And I've caught 45 centimetre flathead on that lure.
Yeah, and I reckon
Absolutely,
this fish just missed it. Yeah. And that when I saw that, and I saw this clear as day, I went, that's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it wasn't. There was a couple casts later, this bigger model, and the splash that the hole that it left in the water, in the surface of the water, was like, it was as good as I've seen. But I didn't know how big the fish was because it was just white water. I just saw this head come up, and I went, well, this could be 60 or it could be a metre. You know what I mean? It turned out to be 82 or something. Or the first one was 82, and I thought, oh, that's as good as it gets.
And that'd be your PB on surface.
100% on surface.
So how cool?
Yeah, 100%. Like I hadn't done a lot of this fishing. I caught a lot of big flathead, but not on surface. And I really just started doing it because I think yourself and Jack about 6 months earlier, I was out on a different boat and you called me in and said, we've just got...
But that was another day they were on the chew. That was another barometerising day because I had a new vibe colour I had to... Berkeley wanted to, said, try this new vibe colour. And I went, I like the look of that colour. Stopped on a spot, jig. And you turned up in your boat and you went, happy days. And I went, yeah, it's a nice one. I thought it was like a 70. And I hadn't looked at it. And I went, oh, wow, stoked. I was just stoked to catch one on this vibe because we wanted, wanted a photo.
You said 68.
I said, yeah, I don't know, 70. And we put it on the mat. It was 84.
It's 84.
84. And I went, oh.
But your judgment's
big.
not,
And
your judgment's pretty good.
Better to say.
It's not the other way around.
Normally I'm pretty close to within a centimetre. But anyway, I hadn't looked at it. I'm just, there's John. Yeah, I've got this fish. I'm just stoked. We got one on that new Vibe colour. Cool. Got a cool photo of it on this Vibe colour. Let it go. And I'm thinking, oh, man, that's a good day. Let's go. And then we had some new colours in the Nessies that just come out. And there's a real bright, is there one over there, Jono? I don't know. A real bright colour.
What colour?
Oh, that fluoro goldy, sort of a goldy yellow colour. And it was a real angry colour. That's no, not that one. There's another goldy one. Sorry, he's just gone. I've sent him over. We've got a couple of Nessies in boxes over here because we were chatting about them today. It mightn't be there. They're real. You found it? No, keep going. He's rumbling through them all. Open that box. See what's in that one.
No, not that one.
No, you haven't found it yet?
No, that's him. No?
Yeah, that's him. Bring him over.
Well, there's a few different ones there.
That one. Oh, yeah. So this one here was a new colour. If you can see, it's in the box there.
It's not something that you'd traditionally throw around flats,
it was sort of, I like the gold, like the lighter gold looks like a whiting, but this one was quite fluoro green and a real angry looking colour. So, and I thought, oh, yeah, let's go with that. And then Jack was throwing a white one, like a pure, like that. Well, Jack was throwing this one here, this pure white one. And then he had a fish come up, and we're on the phone talking to a mate who's been on the show a bit, talking about yellowfin on top water, Simon Pender, who's I hope he's not listening because he's a good fisherman, but we won't tell him that. He's a pretty handy gadget, old Simon. I was talking to him on the phone, and I'm watching Jack.
Doesn't drink coffee though. I don't trust him.
No, that's a bit of a worry when you don't drink coffee. So, and then here's this thing. Oh my God, man! I'm not going to say it was a metre. I'm just going to say it was
a big fish.
If it was 99.9, I wouldn't have been surprised. A massive thing, and pretty coloured up. And Jack's and I'm talking. I couldn't talk. I just sort of stopped talking. Wine, and it just ran out. We ran out of water, and it cruised off and didn't eat.
Ran out of water, not in terms of shallowness, but it was coming back to the boat.
And we just, and man, it's like, devastation, you know. So anyway, but that was the old colour. But I really wanted to get one on the new colour, and then moved along a bit. And there's another spot where I'd caught some big fish before, had a cast there, and then crack, I had this bite, you know, and I went, I don't know, didn't see it because I was thrown into the glare and I missed the bite. Anyway, didn't get that one, and then threw up another one, and then bang, got this fish, and it was just like weight, and I was throwing right up into the current, and working it back with the tide. So I'm working it in towards the way the flathead are going to be sitting, and I've got this fish, and then this big flathead's eating it, but it was swimming towards me, and I'm going, I don't think it's too. Oh my God, and it's a massive one. So then I'm like lock and load on the bait cast gear on the low pro. Wine, Jack's run down, grabbed the big net, and we just sort of went into the net green as, and we just caught it like that.
Yeah, and you rang me. Wow. I was out,
and I said, "Hey,
500 metres away," and I went, "Hello," and you're like, "Yeah, can you come in here now?"
You come now. Let's photograph, and we got in the shallow sand flats, and actually we might.
Yeah, we got the vision here. Yeah, we'll put it. It's a cracking shot.
We'll put a little post up, and it was 90 centimetres. So I'm stuck on my two biggest ones. Caught lots of them so far, but my two biggest have been 90s. But I've seen it
on top water.
On top water, yeah.
And that one that I got. So isn't that funny? So you got two that day. One you didn't catch, but one you caught. But you raised two.
Yep.
The day that I went, I got an 82 and then an 87. The days that you've filmed,
but I got an 84 and a 90 that day. One was on a vibe.
No one was on a vibe.
But they're days.
Talking about days. So when you're doing this, it seems to be like if you raise a fish and they're in the mood, it's keep going because your chance, and when you film real action all up and down the coast, this isn't just here either. You've done it at 4 or 5 different estuaries. You get more than one fish.
Yeah. Oh,
like you've filmed like
last time I filmed with Russell. We did a show this year. The first episode, I think we ended up with 3 over 80.
That's what I mean. So
and we would have raised another 10 fish.
Well, when it's on,
day.
It's on.
And I missed a couple. Jack missed a couple. And Russ was up the front. He's got the estuary system where we're fishing really wide, so he's going. I'm going there. So he, but he did a better job than what we did, and he knew where they would be to be.
But there's just something. I reckon there's something to.
We're a bit unlucky. Missed a couple, like I hooked, and
yeah.
That's the way it is.
But you know what? If you miss, say if you had a session, and you see a fish come up on that and it doesn't eat it, I reckon that's just as good.
Oh, it's not about trying to catch 50 flathead that long. This is about trying to get your
Your big one.
Your big
You're
one.
chasing
That's
a
right,
90,
you're chasing
80
big
plus.
fish.
Yeah.
You'll catch your 60s and your high 50s on the. As I said, I've caught 45s on these where they'll come up and hit it, and you hook them.
I'm kind of addicted to it now. I was actually fished for the first time yesterday, the Karua River, and in and around that area.
Oh, yeah.
And usually I'd go up there and I would just throw my usual 3 to 5 kilo just to try get one. And you've put this phrase in my mind now, Nessie country.
Yep.
It's like
shallow,
ugly,
surface.
rocky or weedy country, less than a meter deep. And Guesty always says, "Oh, that's Nessie country," and he's referring to that's a great spot to throw that. So now when I'm up there, I'm fishing, and the guy that was filming with me, in my head, I said out loud under my breath, "Oh, this is Nessie country." And then 5 minutes later, he goes, What's Nessie country? What
Ness Moss?
Yeah, what is this? So there is an environment where you want to throw this, and I think generally speaking, it's shallow, roughly a meter and a half less.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, meter.
There's structure. There is weed, or there is rock, or there is pylons, or there is oysters, or there is a pressure point. There is something there, and it's, you've got something in your favor, where it be, a new moon or a rising pressure or I don't know, whatever in your estuary is a bite trigger. You've got a moon set, something like that. And that is the recipe for, if that's for people out there that are thinking, I want to go give this a go. I reckon you do that and you might go 10 trips without getting anything. But on the 11th trip you get one, you'll be addicted.
Yeah, you get on the beach with this and put a little ball sinker on there just to help you cast, and you get with the breeze in your back, and you cast it out, and you crank this through the beach, mate. You'll catch the biggest mulloway you've ever seen in your life.
100%.
One of these.
Barramundi, you caught barramundi. You know what you want to really want to go do?
You should see what queenfish do over this, and trevally and kingfish and any of those.
I really want to
mahi around the fads. Man, there's lots of opportunities.
Next time I do
I want to catch a big snapper on one. I haven't done.
Oh yeah,
so that's my plan.
You could troll it.
Absolutely,
you could troll that.
I know. There's guys who are using these like strings of these on their dredge teasers for marlin fishing.
Wow. I want to throw this the smaller version. They come in like a
There's a little fella. There's 3.
I want to throw that for a bass.
Yeah, absolutely. Great
like
bass.
undercover and just yeah. There you go, Guesty. That's a great chat on what is. It's a bit about the lure, but it's more about the time of year, the species. Nessie. There's so many different lures. You could throw the old owner tango dancer and still probably have some success in some areas.
Oh no, that's right. I think it's more. These are quite a big profile.
What's the other one? Colshad. Colshad?
A Cultiva.
No.
Sorry. The other soft plastic.
Yeah,
there's a Colshad.
Colshad.
Yeah.
That's another one. It's
a sinking.
Yeah.
Soft
so you
plastic.
always have that on a different setup where you're like, it's a bit deeper.
I'll throw that one in and roll that. Or I'll generally have one of these, one with a ball sinker, one without a ball sinker, and then another big. If I'm chasing a big lizard, I'm generally these days I'm throwing a big lure. I've just found that sort of works pretty well. If you just want to clock up your numbers, go back and you'll still catch your mega flathead on the smaller lures. There's no doubt.
100%. I think we need to get out and give this a.
I'll be in the Quinny on the weekend over the.
Are you doing it soon?
I'll be having a bit of a I'm going to sneak out. Well, I've got a new boat that I've just put together. We're going to start filming the new series of Real Action shortly off to Queensland. So I've got a new boat. I've just got to go and do that. I've got make sure sounders are talking to each other. Make sure that do my what do you call it? Calibration on the electric motor on the Recon. All that stuff to do. Just do a few checks. Make sure there's nothing else I need to do before that boat's ready to rock and roll. Don't forget this weekend. Real Action is all about fishing Lake Macquarie, and Let's Fish Lake Mac is on 23rd of November. Massive year for Let's Fish Lake Mac. $100,000 in tagged fish again. I really want somebody to catch one of those $25,000 tagged fish. Plus we've got a Quintrex tinny, a 2.5 there. That's worth $6,900, just under. It'll be worth $7,000 by the time you get it. $7,000 Quintrex tinny on a trailer. A $2,500 BCF spending spree, $2,500 in Berkeley Abu tackle or a Lowrance sounder. There's another 4 tagged fish, so there'll be 8 active tags, 4 worth $25,000, 4 worth those prizes, and I'll be
$25,000.
We're just going to tag Flathead for those other 4. So I'm just going to tag Flatties, and I really want someone that we want to see some tags. So that's pretty awesome. So we got the 100K, we got whatever's worth there, nearly $15,000 worth of prizes there, plus all of our catch and release prizes, mystery lengths, Let's Fish Lake Mac's going to be huge.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good on you. We just did
and this weekend, Real Action, by the way, fishing with Fletcher Sharp from the Newcastle Knights.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, terrific young fella.
Is he?
Yeah. When I first met him, I'm looking at this Ryan Pappenhausen style
Yeah.
haircut.
He's like a whippet.
I'm thinking, mate, what's his? He's a lovely young fella, really good young.
What do you
fella.
reckon?
Going to be a superstar.
Do you reckon he
moving
says the
forward.
same about you?
I don't know. Don't really care. I'm old enough; it doesn't bother me. But just a really good young fella. Loves his fishing, and it's great. You know, I love sporting people.
Yeah. No, I looked at the teaser. I haven't seen the show yet, but looks like a good one.
fun. Yeah, really good fun. All right.
That's been a good chat. New set. Feels good, guesty.
Feels good.
We'll get into another chat maybe about something.
And if you've listened in and you want to actually check the visual side of this podcast out, you can.
Yeah, there'd be a YouTube episode already up.
We'll be popping this up on Relax.
Yeah. This is on you. So yeah, this is an audio platform. Nothing's changed on that front. But if you want to see the actual lures that are in our hand, jump over to YouTube and you can see the colours that Guesty's talking about, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, Real Action TV.
Good man.
Good stuff. We'll catch you next time. Bye now.
There you go.